Hello, I'm Ella, and this is Ella Podcasts. Listen to the greatest songs of all time, and many are about the devastation of a relationship ending and the trauma of a broken heart. Most of us at some point in our love life have experienced the enormous change that comes about when splitting up with a partner and have endured the unbearable, searing pain of heartbreak. And we've had to find the strength to move on with our life, even when you really don't feel like it and feel like you'll never get over it. When the great love of my life left, I played Paloma Faith's song, Only Love Can Hurt Like This, on repeat for a full year, driving myself and my neighbors crazy. So today I'm joined by Dr. Jonathan Marshall, a leading psychologist and former professor. He's a Stanford and Harvard University graduate. He offers perspective and practical advice to help men and women cope better and thrive. We also have here Ina Hammer, who's fresh from the plane from Dubai, and she's a men's emotional health coach and a wellbeing coach. She helps men discuss their problems such as divorce, recovery from relationships, confidence and loneliness, and the things that men often keep to themselves to achieve practical change. And we also have here today Samir Kothari, my co-host, my new co-host, who works who works as a fund manager for an Italian investment fund, and he hails from Texas and has a master's degree in science from the University of Houston. And Samir is here to share some of his personal experiences of heartbreak today. Okay, I shouldn't smile at that. It's a bit mean.
Yeah, that was a bit weird.
A bit mean. It's a serious subject, having your heart broken.
It is.
So, is love the main reason couples stay together, or convenience? Or is it the fear of having to start over again?
I think we arrive on the scene, from this wonderful place in utero and our mother's tummies, a sense of oneness, and then hopefully we sense a sense of being merged and connected to the love of the family. And then that sort of dissolves as we leave family. There's some of that perhaps left behind. And we try and recreate it in a relationship. And so we can come in with all this incredible attachment, and that may or may not be a healthy thing. And that desire to stay, to retrieve what we had before, can be toxifying and terrible when we break up.
Yep, absolutely.
And men and women see the breakup very differently, right? So we're obviously, ironically, the men are here and the women are on this side, but the sort of the dissection of and the assessment of the breakup is totally different between men and women.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we should cover that, because I think it's diametrically opposed to each other. Right. The women see the breakup. By the way, your love of your life, is it with the R?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I know this guy. Anyway, never mind. But yeah, so women need a break, for example. They view it as, I need a break, I need to find myself, I need to go to Bali or wherever, right? And men think of it as a job where you never give up. You get on back on the horse again, or back on the bike, and you get in the dating market as soon as possible once the breakup happens. And then there are, like, of course, nuances in between, in terms of the emotional damage.
I think that's what a lot of women get very annoyed about, that their former partner moves on so quickly compared to them. So I've learnt in life that it takes me, I know it sounds very long, it takes me always 4 years to to get to the point where I'm ready to date again.
Wow.
Like, I'm not saying I don't date in between then, but just emotionally I'm not ready for like another serious relationship. It's always been my pattern. I've noticed it's 4 years.
And I always tell people, like, you got to look at it as, if you've lost your job, you can't take 4 years to wait to get over it. You have to start sending your resume out immediately, right? And I think dating is very similar. Now, saying this about women, I mean, a lot of women, have that monkey branch syndrome, which is, the red pill guys will always talk about that there's always a backup guy.
What's a monkey branch syndrome? I never heard of this
where
before.
monkeys switch branches, they don't let go of the other branch until they get the incoming branch.
So women have that?
Women do have that. I think the modern woman, definitely has that. If you're an attractive woman, you get a lot of male attention. A lot of that is social media related, right? Which we did not
women
have.
like us, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean, look, when we were growing up, we didn't have the social media attention. Attractive women now on Instagram have thousands of likes on a random picture and they're DM constantly, right? You didn't have that, say, even 10 years ago, right? It's become Instagram and Facebook have become dating sites.
It doesn't necessarily mean you're ready.
No,
make
okay,
the move.
okay. From an emotional perspective, okay, I agree. But from a practical, tactical standpoint, women get way more attention than they did 10 years ago.
Yes,
Because
but
of
getting
social.
attention doesn't
Going away
do
from the
anything
question
for your
here, aren't we?
broken heart. And yes, we are going very off topic here.
Well, it's related because women have become more desensitized to that heartbreak, for example.
I'd actually like to come back to this,
Okay,
because
all right.
we have got some questions before we get to the heartbreak.
All right.
So if we're looking at reasons why people are splitting up, a big one I always hear is, we've just grown apart. That's said so often. But is that a good enough reason to split up in the first
Statistically, it's money, it's finances. It's not growing apart. Growing apart is a subset of that. Would you agree?
I think people do evolve. And sometimes they're growing apart, and sometimes they're just evolving. And sometimes the distance isn't so far, but you've changed. She isn't who she was before. You aren't who you were before. And acknowledging that and keeping up the communication so that you grow together rather than apart. I
Is
think
it
a big problem.
realistic to expect to grow together when you've met someone, say you've met someone in your 20s, where you are actually very young, you're at the beginning of so many things, the beginning of your career, beginning of really getting to know yourself, your likes, your dislikes, what you're good at. How can you expect to be the same person?
There's an enormous amount of changes that happened in that 10 years or whatever. But
So it's not really
But
any
life is
great
evolving,
surprise.
Ella. I mean, we are not in a static state to just, so when you're 25, of course, when you're 35, you're going to be different, right? So that dynamic change, both sides have to sort of keep up with each other, right? And I think the going back to what you said about growing apart, again, what is the underlying is what we have to discuss. Why does it happen?
because
And is it
people
inevitable?
evolve and change. And there is this, I just remember this thing that I read many, many years ago, something about a man marries a woman expecting her never to change, whilst a woman marries a man expecting him to change.
Yeah,
Well, that's not bad.
that's very true.
So women are always like, oh, I'll change him. He's like this now, but I'll change him. He's a project almost, whilst men, they marry a young girl,
Sweet
maybe
girl.
a sweet girl, and then that's how you think she's going to stay. But of course she changes, and then maybe both have a shock. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's definitely people change so much. I mean, like decade to decade. So it's like, is it even realistic to think that you can
Yeah.
grow?
I mean, it's
grow together?
inevitable that
And then
you're going
maybe
to outgrow each other.
one develops a lot, or does a lot of things, and the other is stagnant, and then you get this imbalance. Maybe they started out like this, and then it becomes like that.
But is a change? These changes don't necessarily have to be detrimental to the relationship, right? I mean,
it can be
not
beautiful.
always.
It can be
So
beautiful, I think,
we're sort of focusing on that it's changes and one moved in a different direction. I don't think necessarily that's a bad
No,
thing.
not always,
You know?
but it can be. It's difficult when one is changing more than the other, maybe,
And when people split up, it's very common. People say that we grew apart, and
Yeah.
it's exceptionally common to hear that.
I mean, it's like that in friendships as well, isn't it? It's like you can have a friend for 20 years, and then it's like, you know what? I don't really have anything in common with them anymore. And and there's nothing had happened or anything. Just gone very different paths in life and different developments.
I have a case study for you.
Yes.
So I'm at this dinner in Hong Kong. Turns out it's mostly women, 40s. All of their husbands are doing extremely well, okay? And every one of them was teetering on a position of divorce, right? And that started to come up in the discussion. And I said to them, well, what is the reason for this, right? I mean, like he was okay, and now he's not okay. And a lot of that going back to is social media. It's related, I believe, from what their answers were, that they were looking at stuff on social media and started comparing their relationship, right? Now, understand we're talking about Instagram, right? So from a pictorial standpoint, they started to compare their relationships with what other people were doing and how other people are doing better than them. And their husband isn't as good looking as so-and-so's husband, or it's not making enough money that the other guy did. And this goes back to growing apart. You see, so a lot of these guys married these women when they didn't have money. Suddenly they have money. And this changes the dynamics. Like you're talking about growing apart, and I mentioned this before. You have to look at, you can't just say a sort of blanket macro sort of statement saying, well, this is one of the underlying reasons. But the real underlying is something totally different, right? The growing apart is an excuse to justify the breakup. But what was actually the breakup? Was it infidelity? Was it financial issues? Was it, the kids? Or disagreements on how to raise children? There's
boredom.
Or boredom. Like a lot of these women are bored out of their minds, right? They're just, the kids have gone to college. They were a housewife their whole life. They're now at a level where, they're multimillionaires essentially with nothing much to do. And you get a bunch of these women in a room together, and it's a self sort of fulfilling prophecy on everyone hating on each other's spouse,
But
it's very common, by the way. You'd be surprised.
Sounds very toxic.
It is. It's very
men
toxic.
Getting more and more, wealthier. When they married, maybe they were not wealthy, and then they get wealthier. What do you think happens to men?
They realize that
they become wealthy.
Yes,
when they become, they come from not when they started out as a couple with nothing. And then down the line and over the years, the man has become very, very successful.
And I know that's something you've experienced firsthand.
Yeah. So what do you think happens to
that's a great, and I didn't want to bring that up because I wanted to be politically correct for your sake. But let me just tell you, in my experience, the guy wasn't able to get the woman that he actually wanted. He had to settle for a mid.
What's a mid?
Mid-range, median quartile. Okay, let's be honest here. This is a major problem with high performers in my experience. And now the guy is on business trips. He's meeting other women. He may have a secretary that's better looking than his wife. I've seen million.
And because he's got money now, he feels he's much more
liberated.
powerful.
And this woman is bitter to a certain extent.
Well, let's hear from Ina, because I know Ina did go through this kind of situation. It would be good to hear a bit of your personal story.
It was a long, long time ago, but yeah, I definitely saw a change from when in the beginning when there was nothing, and then when success arrived,
and it was major success. As well.
Major success, and a lot of changes in the selfishness.
Your husband did very well as financially, is that right?
Yeah.
And then he became more entitled.
Husband. Yeah. I mean, look, he's a good man or anything. He's about the arrogance was quite unbelievable.
No, but what was the underlying? I think what we need to start scratching the surface.
Powerful. It's about power.
All right, it's power, but how did that then impact your relationship dynamic between?
I guess you're no longer equals, are you? When he's become super successful, rich, and you're still kind of the housewife, and you're not on that journey with him with his career.
I just saw some behavioral changes that like he wasn't as nice as he used to be, kind of thing. So, but look, he's all right. But yeah, I definitely felt there was success had a lot to do with it.
And the richer he got, was he less respectful as well? Would you say?
Yeah.
Which is
I've
common.
had-
But money
I've actually-
changes
I've had-
people,
I've had
right?
two
I mean,
experiences
we
with
know
this.
that money does change people.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So of course, okay, that's the. Can I make just a comment on that dinner? every one of those women was annoying as hell. Okay, I was
To
like,
you.
God bless these men for dating. I mean, for still being married to this bitch. You know.
Okay,
Okay,
Samir,
no,
we're
sorry.
actually talking about
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
how to heal a broken heart today.
you can edit that if you
that's
want,
actually what
but-
we were.
I don't
on.
think that's
Yeah.
going to be really helping
Maybe we need to
people
go back
on
into
that
that.
journey.
You can edit that out if you want.
Yeah.
But
Let's
Yeah.
let's go back to so people when they split up and the heartbreak they feel. And Samir, I know you're Mr. Tough Guy right now, but I've seen you heartbroken.
yeah, I was with you know who,
Yes.
right? And because it was it was a big blow.
Yeah,
And
it was
but-
more than a big blow. You were
But it was fine. It was
devastated.
the underlying again. See, so I have to be honest with myself to look at. So the perception for the other party was that the finances weren't getting any better, and that was the underlying, right? So she will say we grew apart, but I know what the reality was, right? The reality, and that's why I'm saying that you when people tell you something like this, you really have to dig deeper to see there was an underlying cause and effect of something. And in our case, it was definitely her perception of what financially where she should be as it relates to the man, right?
She wanted you to have more money.
Yes, correct. Now she jumped to a guy that didn't really have money, but it's a different issue. But the perception was, for women, perception is everything, right? And we know women at some point dilute the reality to what fantasy is. And that's how you guys think, where men are more critical in their thinking and more strategic, where women are more sort of live in a sort of different parallel universe to men. And I think that impacts the modern relationship. And again, going back, social media is a huge cause of this breakdown.
And Samir, just to go back to your heartbreak, I mean, I know for years you were very upset about the breakup. And, I saw it, that you were, as much as you were putting on a brave face, I knew you were devastated. It was obvious to your friends that you were really suffering and it was a massive blow. So how did you manage to move out of that space?
I started dating a Russian girl in Hong Kong, which helped.
Yeah.
Who was also a nut job, but it's okay, But it does. It helped. It helped, right?
So getting back on the saddle.
That's right. Absolutely.
How long did that take you?
3 months.
Okay.
But I mean, look, she's right. I mean, I'm sort of
Emotionally.
I'm sort of rushing through this,
But you
showing
might-
that. Yeah, but
you
you're
might
looking
be dating
for
someone else,
Yeah.
but you were still
yeah,
emotionally.
sure. It never leaves you, and depending on how serious the relationship is and what you've invested in that relationship,
Yeah.
right? So this is going back to what she said, and a lot of women get hammered as well as men, I think, but I think it's more of a female problem where, you see this, you've invested X amount, and I think women are more devastated by that investment period and the disappointment of not getting
wasting years of our lives.
That's right. Whereas for men, obviously, we don't have a biological clock. It's a little bit easier. I think Jonathan, I can see Jonathan from this corner of my eye. He's like, man, this guy really needs therapy.
Yeah. It's not just Jonathan who's thinking that way.
I need to sign this guy up and then write a book
Big
on him.
package.
Yeah, yeah.
200 sessions.
So I mean, it was devastating, but how do you, I think the proof, the magic sauce on this is how you get over it. Right now,
So what did you do to get over it?
I got stuck in Ukraine during the COVID, right? So that sort of got me over it.
How did that get you over it?
Well, I mean, look, you
Lots of
started a new
hot
life.
women.
Yeah, well, that helped as well. But just, you're a totally different life, right? You're divorced from anything that reminded you of that person from a physical standpoint, right? You're from a geography standpoint.
But not everybody can, leave town just because they've split up.
I know,
with someone.
but there's a coping mechanism that is probably unique to everyone, right? Whether
Yeah,
that's
so what did you do to cope to that? What
I just
was your-
started going out with other women. I mean, I think that was the coping mechanism. I mean, you don't forget that person, right? And to make it worse, some of our friends reminded me all the time. our friend, we were in Macau, and I brought this new Russian girl that I was dating, and he was very annoyed by her. And after she went to the toilet, said, "Samir, could you please get back with the other girl, because you're bringing this girl out and you're ruining our evening." So your friends are important as well. Can you get over these issues? Are your friends supportive? And I think by and large, I think men are really supportive, right? I mean, it's us against them as usual, right? That mentality, and I think that helps a lot. I'm not sure. I think in the female world, I think it's much harder, right?
And maybe women don't jump back on the saddle so quickly. I think.
No, I think we allow ourselves a bit more time to grieve, to just grieve
Yeah.
the relationship and and come to terms with everything that
I think
it was what it was.
I think there's a generational standpoint. There's a generational understanding from both of you. I think you would be super surprised at young women now on terms of getting over things. It is the gestation period of getting over is now almost nothing.
How has that changed?
I think that's changed.
How?
Again, going
I mean,
back to
these
social
are
media
people-
again.
These
I
are,
don't think
these
so.
are people's feelings and
Yes, I
emotions.
know,
like,
but
how does that
but
change?
because
because
I
of social
think
media.
women are telling other women, and I've experienced this. Get over it, move on. You've got 20 other guys and would love to date you.
Yeah.
Go move on with it. And
It's always been like that.
It's
But
always been like
the
that.
human heart
Yeah, that's what
needs time to recover from
Yeah.
a breakup, because for me, it's always been the absolute most kind of earth-shatteringly awful experience to have that heartbreak where you can't sleep, you're completely obsessed with that person, you're kind of praying to every religion there is to bring him back to you. I mean, it's a horrible, horrible experience.
you're showing a generational viewpoint of this.
No, that's...
And a societal,
What do you think,
from a
Jonathan?
societal
Is this
standpoint,
Yeah,
it's
let's hear what
changed.
Jonathan has to say about that.
Actually, I don't know. There might be something to what Samir
It's
is
surprising
saying,
that
Really?
but I don't know any.
No, but from a societal perspective, girl boss, this goes back to our previous discussion.
Deep feelings inside the heart, like the heart.
Yeah,
like
I don't
she
think
says.
that exists anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't
But then
exist,
you're
where's
saying
it
people
gone?
don't love as intensely now. I don't believe
Yeah,
that.
I believe that. I think the let's go back to my mother's generation. Okay, so
So are you saying that love was stronger?
Yes, correct.
Before,
Yes,
now
I think
you
and
don't
from
love
both sides. I
someone?
think the responsibility that men felt for a relationship, say 20 years ago, and the love aspect of the emotional side that women felt 20 years ago and today is totally transformative now. And the gestation period now is just nothing.
This I need to research.
No,
Yeah,
you
I
watch
don't
you
believe that
watch
for a
all
second.
of the podcasts now, the Red Pill podcast with men talking about getting over breakups. Don't cry over your thing. Go to the gym. Find another woman. And I think from a female perspective, if you look at the female podcast, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
Girl,
we
get
might
over it.
say
Start an
these
OnlyFans
things,
account.
but it doesn't
you know?
mean that it's happening inside of people.
No, but when you
Yeah.
listen to them, there is.
But
there
that
is-
advice has always been out there. I mean, when I've
Yeah.
split up with people, I remember Ina saying to me, Ella, you've got to stop thinking of him. Get out there. Put yourself out there. Start dating.
Did I?
Yes,
Yeah.
you did. And, that advice has always been there. But a lot of the time, people can't take it because they're not ready
Exactly.
to
And they can't
start dating
yeah,
again.
exactly.
I can
They don't-
imagine that relationships are not necessarily as deep because there's so much distraction.
Yes,
There's all this
that's right.
candy
That
and
I can go
availability.
with.
But I think the attachment needs are probably, if anything, growing stronger because people are increasingly coming from homes that are broken. And so their early attachment needs haven't been met. So they grow up
Yeah.
insecure in some ways. They can be insecure avoidant, which means like, I don't like admitting my needs, or
Yeah.
preoccupied, like, oh, do you love me? Do you love me? It's like, yeah, I told you that 20 minutes ago. Why are you asking me now? That these attachment needs are probably, if anything, growing deeper. And so the hurt of someone's abandonment, I'm going to just guess, I don't know any research on this, would, if anything, be stronger. But there's a lot more distraction and there's a lot more ease at jumping ship. And
That's
what was the
correct.
phrase? Like,
It's
Yeah.
transactional now
Yeah.
versus,
Yeah.
a
So maybe
generation
people don't
ago.
allow themselves to feel as deeply as.
But I
before.
think
So
an
maybe-
abandonment, a rejection,
Yeah.
an infidelity will cut as deeply and possibly more
Yeah.
because that attachment need is if anything, stronger, I think.
Yeah, so I'm not contesting that at all.
Yeah.
What I'm contesting is the gestation period of that.
Samir, can we move on? Because this is meant to be a podcast to help people
Oh, right.
recover from heartbreak.
Okay, all right. Okay,
So I really would like to focus on that.
I've got theories on that too.
Okay, I'm sure you do. I've got theories on everything.
Yeah.
But so Jonathan, I mean, there are people who stay in relationships for way too long because it's too difficult to leave.
And some who move too quickly. And again, it's those attachment needs. It's like the avoidant person is, oh my God, she's been looking at her phone multiple times this evening. I think she's going to leave me. I'll jump the gun and break up with her first. And then there are those who stay on and on and on when they should have left years ago.
Yeah.
And again, that issue of early attachment is incredibly important and valuable to understand. How do I attach to people? Because the way you attached age 5 has a lot to do with the way you attach age 50.
Yeah.
So why do you think some people do stay way longer than they should?
And often they have an insecure, preoccupied attachment style. They're like clinging. They're hoping.
It's hoping, isn't it?
Yes, it's that fear of abandonment, and then where will I be? And then there'll be nothing left of me, and I'll be all alone and never found attractive, and that'll be the end.
Or just hoping they'll change. Things will go back to where they used to be. Is that? I think women are very good at hope. You know, they just keep hoping and hoping. You know, even when there's actually no hope there.
And then
But they're
couples have a
hoping.
history, and I think that also bonds people. So even if they are in a really bad place, like,
They're
but we
hoping
were
it's gonna get
childhood
better.
sweethearts, or we met at university, and there's that story of
Can't
their
give up
lives
already, and
it's like we've been together for 20 years, 30 years. Why would we split up now? So I think there's a lot of people
So
in that
I think
bucket.
there's a lot of this. People give up so easily these days. I don't know. Actually, I think maybe people stay too long. In most cases, I think they. I mean, certainly I did in both my marriages. I totally stayed longer than I should have done.
And that's because you were giving it your all and
Yes,
trying to save it.
Yeah. Well, especially in the second one. So I wasted years of my life doing that. You know.
So from a clinical perspective, so you've got a group of high performers that may have marital issues, may have broken up with their wife or their husband. What would be your advice to them to get over, for example, this breakup? And then you please also give your views on that, because you're looking at a totally different demographic of you're looking at mostly men, right, in your practice. And you're looking at both men and women, but you're looking at your initial sort of your primary concern is their career, but that must be the breakup with a divorce, for example, has impacts on their performance, right?
So now I do performance and well-being, so both. But it seems to me like when people break up, they're often so full of ill will. It's like I hate her or I hate him, and that they're not over it until that's gone, and that might be years or it might not.
Until indifference sets in.
Actually, I would go one step further. I would say when you can regard the person with no more hostility than an average person, which is often people, then you're over it. And so, like one guy explained to me, he was devastated to discover his girlfriend was having an affair. And he said, it wasn't until I could genuinely wish her happiness that I knew I was over it. And I think that's the litmus test. So it's your own inner work. How do I examine and cope with my hatred for my partner or my general sense of hostility? That I think, and often that's a lot of personal work.
And a lot of people never get to that stage.
A lot of people never get to that
Yeah,
stage.
but how do you get them over that line?
Yeah, that's a hard one.
No, but is there? I mean, I assume every individual has a different sort of
formula.
You use a different formula, but if you had to choose one way to do that, how would you do that with your client?
Self-care and forgiveness, like forgiving yourself. How was I so dumb to date her? It's like, how do you forgive yourself for that? How do you understand?
Absolutely.
Where is she coming from? Why might she have done that? Like, try to see it from her perspective. And then sort of how do I look after myself in my fury and my pain and my fear, my sense of abandonment and worthlessness? Exercise, do the ground strokes, connect with people, those basic things to look after me, but also to not create a simple black and white hostility.
Do you think people learn from their mistakes, or do they go exactly back to
I think we
same
tend
mistake?
to go back to the same mistakes
Yeah.
an awful
So
lot.
you
And I
repeat.
think we learn slowly, is my guess.
And I've seen a lot of my friends, divorce their first husbands after many years and then rush into another marriage, and then that ends. And then I've got a friend who's just married for the 4th time. And
Maybe she shouldn't be.
well, I keep...
Is it he or a she?
It's a she, and I unsubtly said to her, don't you think you're maybe not good at marriage?
No, but
And it's another white dress going down the aisle, but number 4. But yeah, it's like, do people even learn from their mistakes, or just pile back in and repeat the same experience?
Yeah.
But it's sad if you don't learn from if you don't
Yeah.
have a lot of self-reflection. And I mean, after a breakup, surely that's when you need to really go inside and have a lot of reflection. And
What about you? So Jonathan gave one example of, I mean, obviously it's subjective to the individual. How would you, in your practice, advise a guy that has just broken up? What was that one thing that you would tell him to focus on? They're never getting back together. Let's hypothetically just
Yeah.
I don't think there's a one thing, though, is it?
no, it's not just one thing, but acceptance. I mean, you have to accept that it is what it is, and that you can't go back, you can't change the past, you have to move forward. So yeah, I think just accepting that there's been a break and that's it.
And it's so hard for many people because
It
you're
is
kind of
hard.
secretly wanting someone to come
Yeah,
back and
but
holding out for them.
It's like, it's not happening. It's, it is, this is it. This is it.
It's so hard to convince people. Like, so one person
Sure.
I know believes that because of their past life connection, he
Oh,
will
yeah.
return to her. It may be 10 or 20 or 30 years from now. And I'm
Or in
thinking,
the next life.
yeah,
Yeah.
and there she is, like holding back for this man to
Yeah.
one day come back. And I'm thinking, whew, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I should-
We've heard that before.
We've heard that before.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
yeah, that there's a karmic bond and all that. Yeah.
But
Well, I think
there's
you-
a Hinduism element to this as well. I mean, you live in Bali, right? I mean, or some of it. Where in Hinduism, you're the day you're born and the day you die is written, and in between there are sort of forks in the road, or there are options for you to follow. And during that path that you take, you are destined to meet people, right? And so, I think you're from a spiritual standpoint, you're seeing people actually believe that I met someone, and that's where you're going with this, right?
Yeah.
With this karmic or this spiritual element to it, that we were meant to be together, or we'll be together again, or whatever, right?
That's when people feel intense love, and it's a special connection, and that's why you feel like someone's your soulmate or someone's your twin flame or whatever it may be. I mean, it's just an undeniable magic connection, and it's rare. I mean, that's the other thing. You don't come across people every single day that you're going to fall madly in love with, feel great passion with. So it is like the most magical feeling in the world.
But
So
it usually doesn't last.
when it comes down, it is the most devastating feeling in the world, because the magic, because you still may feel completely connected to that person.
Yeah,
Can I
and
ask-
maybe
can I share
completely
what-
abandoned feeling too, where you've kind of finally attached. And it
Yeah.
was so nice to merge, and then
Yeah.
you're on your own.
Sure. But
You were gonna say- you were gonna
can
say something.
I share what helped me in very, very much? Is I told myself that love is a choice. Because I was saying thoughts become emotions, and I am in control of my thoughts, and love is a choice. And I would say, I am now going to choose to love you no more, because I needed to do that for my own self-respect, and and that actually really worked for me. I decided that it's a choice. Love is a choice. Just like liking someone. You might like someone, you might not like someone. But you kind of choose it, right? You choose not to.
Yeah,
So I
it's easier
decided
said
that-
than done.
Yeah,
I
that's
know it's easier
mentally
said
pretty
than
tough
done.
thing to do.
But I did it.
No, I know,
and
and good for you.
Yeah,
but
people
I think
say to me, it's like, oh my
I
God,
think most
can't
people
believe
won't be
how
able to.
you-
Most people won't be able to have
Right.
that mental toughness to say,
Yeah.
and wake up one morning and affirm that, okay, it's over.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I
move
did.
on. It's not easy.
It's like,
I would say the three of us here are not that tough, for sure.
Yeah, I am quite resilient, but that was definitely the way I got over it. It was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm choosing.
Wow.
I'm
And there's
choosing.
different depths
That
of-
everything is a choice. That everything I do in life is a choice. So that's what I was.
Do you think some people feel love maybe more than others? Because I
Yes.
know I'm terrible. I've lived my life having
Because you're an empath.
great loves and then great tragedy, and it's always the great love has always felt on a biblical level. Like it is like the movies. It is that
How have you gotten over it?
the Bronte movies and the sweeping love and the great love, the epic love. I don't know if I ever have got over.
You
my
have.
great
I
loves.
know. I mean, we know each other well enough to.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, there's 3 in my life that I look back on, and they still make me really sad if I look back. If I see a photo pop up on the phone, it still makes
No,
my
but
heart
you've
sink.
done much better than a year ago.
Where you were a while ago.
Yeah. But that's
so-
time, and it's taken a
Yeah.
long time to get to the stage where
Sleep helps.
I feel ready for the next person.
Yeah.
I'd have to be like
I
Sleeping
just feel more
Beauty
annoyed that I
for
wasted
4
all this
years.
time of my life.
I know, but it's not necessarily something you can time.
Yeah.
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
I've known people who've, brushed themselves off a couple of months crying and they're
Yeah.
back in there and they're
Yeah.
fine. I just can't operate like that. It takes me years, but yes, eventually you get to a stage where you can put yourself out there again. But I still think if he was back, I'd be straight
But-
back in it.
But by the time the breakup happened, I mean, were you still feeling in love and
Yeah.
loved him and all
yeah,
this?
I
Yeah, it
think
wasn't
that's-
I know this intimately because she's obviously told me. She wasn't the instigator of the breakup.
Yeah, no, I understand
Well, if
that.
anything, it was
but-
COVID.
yeah.
So he was trapped in another country when COVID happened.
Oh, yes, I know.
And then ended up being 2 years out of the country.
Right,
and in
right,
those
right.
2 years, he met someone
Yeah,
else.
sure.
And so it was a weird
Yeah.
ending because it wasn't really an ending. It was
Right, it
just
wasn't
circumstances.
Right, yeah, I got you.
So I think that was
Yeah.
probably a big part of the problem with
The
that.
Wuhan lab was the
That
cause of
bloody-
your breakup.
That's right. I'm suing them
Yeah.
for losing the
Yeah.
great love of my
You
life.
could do that now,
Can I?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure you can.
You're on.
You can also sue Tony Fauci
Okay.
for funding it.
Okay, right,
Tony
that's
Fauci.
That's
Broke
the whole different.
Tony
yeah.
broke my heart.
Yeah, there you go.
But I guess everyone's different with
Yes,
how they
of
handle
course.
it.
Oh, they are, absolutely.
And I do remember you got divorced from your first husband, and I was still kind of doing my kind of half-hearted dating. And before I knew it, you were on to husband number 2. And I remember saying to you, "Oh my God, how do you do that?" I admired it, and you said, "It's because you're too fussy." And
Is that what I said?
yeah, and it's like, well, you're probably
No,
right.
I wasn't too fussy. I surely didn't say
Yeah,
that.
you did. You said you're too fussy, but you were right. I am, and
Well,
for a long
yeah.
time I would go on
Gotta have
dates.
standards. I'm sorry if I said that.
No,
Because
it's okay. But I would go on dates, and I'd always be comparing them
Right.
to the ex.
Compare
That's
and
the
despair.
problem, It's like, and no one was good enough because it wasn't him.
That's it's a very female thing to do.
Yeah.
You
I think men are not so driven by the previous relationship,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I think as women, I think you can agree that
Yeah, we are. And yeah.
the relationships tend to be, in my opinion, for women, it's almost genetic imprinting. Whereas, and that's why it's difficult to you're almost imprinted genetically by that relationship. Whereas men are able to move on much faster because there's not that level of genetic imprinting.
I'm not sure. I think men are more likely to suicide after a breakup than a woman is.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Statistically?
Statistically.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's shocking to me. That
Yeah.
I would assume that it was the women that would have.
Been the one, yeah, I think
Maybe
women are
some
more
modern
likely to
women.
attempt, but men are more likely
right.
to kill themselves.
Yeah, suicide is not a big thing for women, right?
Yes, it's
Well,
big for.
I mean, not
all
relative
people.
to men, right?
It's
Is it-
Sure, there's
they,
been many
women attempt
people.
more, but men succeed more.
No follow through, man. Come on, come on, girls.
Stop that, Samir. Right, that's been edited out. And then a lot of relationships do break down because one of the spouses cheats on the other. So infidelity is a big factor for breakups. Do you think you can ever recover from infidelity, or does it mean it's over if he or she is already strayed?
I think you can recover from it. Yeah. I think you gotta be realistic, and that, like, when you marry someone, and if you're thinking, well, most people when they get married, they think it's gonna be forever, and then is it realistic to think that your partner will never be attracted to someone, or yourself? You will never be attracted to someone else and fall for temptation, and when life has gotten boring and stale, and when things aren't fun. It's like, come on, I don't really believe in marriages actually anymore, because I think they have a shelf life, and I just don't understand why do people want to involve the government in their relationship, and I love this thing with, would you board a plane knowing it had a 50% chance
that's
of
right. I've
falling
heard
out
that
of
one
the
before.
sky?
No, that's a good point. That's a great point.
The divorce rate in the US sits at 56%. So why are people getting married?
In places like Ukraine and Russia, it's even higher. It's like 60,
probably.
70%.
And then second marriages are in their like 80% of the failure rate.
It's because we're still fed those fairy tales as a little kid.
Yeah.
The happily ever after, the prince meets his princess. It's just indoctrinated into us
it is,
that this is the ideal. This is what we all deserve.
The other thing is that, divorce was, from a societal perspective, not an accepted. When I got my divorce, I think I was the second divorce in the family history, going back maybe 100 years.
Wow.
Right? So I think it's an accepted way of exiting something now that it wasn't, say, 30, 40, 50 years ago. That's one thing. Two, I would just say something controversial, which is woman cheating, can't accept it. You move on.
Really?
Man cheating, there are 50-50 on recovery. When a woman cheats, it's serious shit.
Men can't get over it? Is that what you're saying?
Or women are emotionally attached.
Yeah, the woman has essentially physically and emotionally betrayed you in a way, and it's a way of getting back at you for whatever reason they want to make up, and the recovery is not possible.
You're saying that women cheat because they want to.
It's a spiteful response.
Really?
Yes,
Well,
100%.
Could it not be just because they're attracted to someone else?
No.
Because come on.
No way.
Oh, what a lot of shit.
You need to hire me as your therapist. No way.
Oh my God. Look,
Okay, I'm generalizing to a certain
because
extent.
There's
but
attraction that happens between people, and you're living in a boring, stale marriage, and then some
accept
dude
that.
comes
Yeah,
along.
I can't
and
accept that.
You can't accept that,
No,
and then you think she's doing it out of it.
I've seen it too many times, with not only myself but my friends.
So why do men cheat then?
I think for fun.
For fun.
Yeah, and it's
So
not.
they're willing to just throw away everything they have.
They don't think that they're going to get
thrill.
caught. It's in the moment, whereas a woman doesn't cheat in the moment
Women are a lot better at cheating.
because they lie well.
Men
But,
also lie, but they're just
they're not so good at it.
not as good at
There you
hiding
go.
their tracks.
There you go. Women have planned it out, and then
Not necessarily.
it occurs, or it's much more of a planned.
How can you
Devious.
generalize
You're
like
saying
this?
women are more devious and
yeah,
cunning.
Women are much more planned in terms of cheating or infidelity
And men
than
are
men
more
are.
impulsive.
No, it's a transaction. It just happened.
Why can't that? How do you know that doesn't happen with women as well?
Because I know a lot of women, and I'm
I
telling
can
you.
vouch for that.
You're telling me.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Right, we're the same age. You're
Intimately.
telling me.
I'm talking about no, but again, I put a disclaimer when we started this podcast about the generational differences. You guys are from a different generation.
No, we are all the same.
No, I know, but as you women are different generation from the women that I'm talking about today. Okay? The women of today are, as I mentioned to you, generation did not believe in divorce, even though you got to.
Excuse me, how old do you think we are?
No, we're the same age, but when we were growing up,
I'm still thinking, even if you're getting married at 22 today, you're not getting married thinking, oh, this will probably end in divorce.
no.
one
I'm
thinks like
I'm
that.
talking about
Which
that.
we all know it will. But
I'm talking about the route to the exit or the route to infidelity. We're talking about heartbreak and breakup, right? Infidelity is one of the key drivers to that, right? Whatever the underlying is, finances, or you got bored or grew apart. But I'm just saying that the younger generation of women don't find it a taboo. Plan much better. And again, I'm going to say it over again. Social media is a driver of this ability to jump in and out of relationships. And that's why there's an epidemic of this breakups.
Yeah, but I still think if you're nursing a broken heart, then you're not just going to jump onto a dating app and everything's okay.
Society's telling you to do it.
It may well be
Right?
telling you to, but your heart is an emotional,
or you don't need a man or
body
whatever.
part.
Yeah.
And I've heard breakups described as like a psychological injury. It's
it is.
It's that harsh, the experience.
Yeah.
It's trauma,
Massive
Yeah,
trauma.
massive trauma, absolutely.
And, I look back on my life and, right now I'm at a stage where I'm very reticent to get back into, a great love affair because the amount of pain
You're scared of
at
being
the
hurt.
end, I don't know if I can put myself through that again. It's if you could die of a heartbroken heart, I would have died by now.
Yeah, but
really.
it's quite sad that you would avoid a new relationship just because you're scared of what may be on the other side.
I know, and I keep
And
But
saying,
there's also
get out
something
there.
sensible there,
There
in
is
terms
something
of, I think so, in that, am I at a place where I can handle what a relationship might involve, and that includes the breakup. And if I'm not in a place to handle a breakup, maybe I should think twice about jumping in straight away.
Jonathan, you have a very calming voice.
Well,
I'm not listening to a word you're saying, but I do feel calm. I'm serious. It's very.
You can buy his voice.
Yeah, there
Buy
you
his
go.
session.
I just get it on my
Well,
phone.
maybe that's why he's a
He's
psychologist
that's
and
right.
you're
And
not.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, I am a psychologist, not a well-liked one.
No. Okay, another question, a big one. Should exes stay friends, or is that emotional self-harm?
I think you can get to a place where you can be good friends because, after all, once upon a time, you loved each other and you might have children together, and so it's like you used to have a friendship. So if you can manage to not have such a nasty divorce or something, then sure. I mean, I've seen many people who are good friends with their exes.
But a lot
Absolutely
of people,
not.
You hit the nail on the head when you said nasty divorces. Because
Yeah.
of most of my friends, because sadly most of them have divorced by now,
Yeah.
and all of them have had nasty divorces without exception, and it does definitely create.
I always say there's no such thing as a pretty divorce.
Yeah, but I mean, she brought up a very good point. Children. Okay, so I have a family member that's going to go through a divorce, and the consideration is, I know her name's Zena, by the way. I just said she, as in because I didn't forget your name.
Okay.
But so the consideration of keeping in touch and keeping it civil is primarily for the children's sake. Now, if you don't have kids, you should not be in contact with that person. Just
never see
that
each other
goodbye
again.
and goodbye.
Yeah.
If you see them,
Adios.
you be civil. If it's some people are in the same social environment, okay, fine, you can be civilized to that person, but you need to move on. You can't
Go
be,
no
let's go for
contact.
brunch and stuff like that, like in the movies. No, that doesn't work.
I think it depends. I think many people, after a relationship, after the whatever sort of spending time apart, can be very good friends. One guy I know said, we've got sex out of the way. Now I'm not trying to pursue her in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, now we can have a real friendship because
Yeah.
that is no longer part of the equation.
Or the attraction, they still like each other, but the attraction just isn't there anymore. And if it's like that for both parties,
Yeah.
why can't they be friends, I guess?
I think this is a
They
very
share a lot.
Western way of looking at.
I think
right?
there is a cultural thing
The
to it.
cultural. I think it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
I think if you go to Asian cultures, I think there is no quarter given once the
Yeah, I might have noticed that. Yes.
and particularly if there's a big settlement involved, you've already paid the I was going to use another word, the woman, but and now goodbye. You know, the only time you do have interaction is if there's a child involved, and even then it's very, very less in terms of direct contact. You wouldn't want to meet that person in a bar or a restaurant or wherever.
Yeah.
I think that's a very you're both of you or three of you are very Western in your assumptions.
We are Western.
Yeah, no, that's right.
might-
Yeah,
might
I mean,
be
I grew up in the
right.
U.S., but I mean, you know, but you know, culturally, Asians don't kind of buy that.
Yeah.
And then, Jonathan, a question for you, which is close to my heart or my experience. Why do people miss someone who treated them badly?
Often it's because they feel seen. So if I think I'm worthless and you treat me badly, well, then you've seen me.
Yeah.
Because you've seen my value, that I don't have it. You treat me badly because... And so we all want to be seen. So if then you're not no longer in the picture, well, there's no one to affirm
Like
who
some
I am.
attention is better than none.
Well, no, even bad attention is better
Yeah,
than
exactly.
good.
Oh,
exactly.
right,
Bad.
right,
That's what I
right.
meant.
So
Okay.
if I think
attention
I
is
only
better than
deserve
none.
bad attention, you give me bad attention, well, you've seen me. And that is so attractive. I want to be seen. And so if I have high self-esteem, well, that's disgusting. I don't want to be with you. But if I have low self-esteem, it speaks to where I'm at. And so, yeah, we're going to miss that thing that we had. And sometimes it's because there's just something there. Even though I was treated badly, I loved him for this reason or that reason. There was some other reason to be connected, even if I have high self-esteem. There's a suggestion, like there's something called limerence, the idea that there might be even a biochemical change.
Yeah, I
that
was just
takes
about to
place.
say. Yeah.
And that's very hard to
I
understand.
remember you saying to me, actually,
Yeah.
you've got a bad,
bad
case of limerence. And I think you're
So is there- is
right.
there some kind of a
Samir,
hormonal-
we're going to be wrapping up. So
Okay,
I want
all right,
to
sorry.
get on to the last question. Does time really heal heartbreak, or do we simply learn to cope with the pain of a broken heart? So last question.
I think both can be true at the same time, in my opinion.
I think time is a great healer, actually. It just... Time, I mean, it's such a cliche, but it does work. I mean, just time.
I think that's right. I really agree with Samir. Time, like sleep, REM sleep, helps us heal wounds. And time is an incredible healer, much as when we've just had a heartbreak, it's hard to believe that time will make a dent.
And then a few years later, you think, what on earth was I even, thinking about? And like, why was I so upset,
Dating someone else and some whiskey also helps, as we know.
Yeah, and I'd say my one-liner on that would be knowing what it is that where is the real pain? Oh, it's a fear, it's my abandonment, and being present with that, but not too don't get obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Elle, if you had one tip for people in heartbreak, what would you say?
Something I have done, which was recommended, is to, I know it sounds awful, but to write down that person's negative traits. All the things they ever did that was wrong or hurt you or was not good about them. And when you are getting into that kind of fantasy, looking back with your rose-tinted spectacles,
Misty feeling.
Get the
start
list out.
reading that list of all the things that weren't right, which will kind of bring you back to the ground. Because I think we do tend to reminisce looking at the positives. You forget the bad stuff, you remember the good stuff. So having that little list to refer to can help just cut out that reminiscing, which is not healthy.
But it goes back to what Jonathan said, which is you need to focus on yourself, right? So whether that's, and you've been doing that, you've been doing a lot of stuff, you've got a lot of new hobbies. This is one of them, obviously, but you have kept yourself busy. He was talking about exercise or tennis or whatever. You've done it in a different way, but I think that is the key, right? It's not so much writing down, although because we are always going to look at the sort of rosy side of the relationships, right?
Yeah.
And
All right.
yeah.
For
Thank
me,
you,
it was
guys.
keeping myself connected with friends.
Right,
I
right.
mean, my
Busy,
friends,
right? At the end of the day.
No, not but busy, but like my friends were just my rock. They were. That's what I needed. I needed friends, to lean on.
Well, thank you guys. We're out of time. I'm just going to do my closing now, but thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you all for joining us too on Ella Podcasts. Heartbreak is such an overwhelming and terrible experience, such intense, profound agony. But we humans are resilient and we learn to nurse our broken hearts back to life. Don't let a failed relationship stop you from finding love again. It's out there. Be brave and start dating. you could find a new love and feel joy. Love and passion are the greatest human experiences in life, so pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get out there again. If you want to suggest a topic for our next episode, please join our Facebook group at Ella Podcasts and message us. Please rate and share this podcast and subscribe to our channel. Sending you a big loving hug.